Tutorial, I'm going to show you how to produce a map with a key from your finished polygons, your mapping. Now the way to do that is to go to Project and New Print Layout. We're going to call that Hollywells, and we get a new canvas for the printable map with nothing on it. So I need to add the map first. And there we go. Now, if I need to zoom in a little bit, I can use this tool here, but that zooms in increments, and I'm not keen, so I prefer to go straight into the scale over here. Now, if I put that down to 4,000 perhaps, there we go. That's much more precise. Now, the next thing I can see is that I've got a satellite map around here, but most agencies prefer to use a different base map. So I'm going to minimize my layout, and I'm going to bring OpenStreetMap into the map. There we go. And I'm going to move that above Google Satellite. There we go. Now, different agencies will have their own preferred base maps. I'm just using a easy to find, freely available one in the XYZ tiles. Now, a lot of agencies will retain the color in these, but I think that's confusing once you put a color key in. So I'm going to click on that layer, OpenStreetMap, and go to Symbology, and there's a grayscale option. Now I want to put that to, well, I can pick any of these, but I find by luminosity gives me a slightly paler result, which is what I'm after. And if I find that that's still competing with my own mapping a little bit too much, I can play with the contrast, saturation, brightness to make that a bit more washed out. Quickest way to do that is actually to increase the gamma a little bit. There we go, that's a bit paler. Second thing I'm noticing is that my labels for the secondary codes are a little bit pale, a little bit difficult to see. So there is one in this long canal pond feature down here. If I zoom in, I can see that there is a label in there. It's actually there. When I zoom out, it's actually offset. It's down here. So I need to sort that out. So I'm going to change the label position, and I'm going to do that in the main map. So here we go. We've got the 40 should be in the middle of the lake there. So there's a few things I can do. If I click on the polygons, which that relates to, and labels, we'll keep the secondary codes. First thing I can do is make sure the placement is correct. So now we've got around the centroid, which is trying to find the center of the shape. Now, when it's a long shape, that sometimes means it's actually outside the shape. So we can say force point inside polygons for a start. That may well work. And we were having trouble seeing it against the pale habitat colors. So we're going to change the text to black and give it a background so we absolutely can see it. By default, that's white. There we go. So they're very clear now. But still, it's drawing the label in the middle of the shape, the center of gravity of the shape, but I'd prefer to be in the larger area. So there is an option that I can use for that. I'm going to put it in free. That will put them at an angle sometimes, but that's okay. If I go back to the print layout, that should have all updated. If it hasn't, we can hit refresh. And I want to add a key or a legend. If I draw that in there, it's going to put all the possible habitats in there. Now I only actually want the ones that are used. So the first thing I want to do is to untick auto update so that I can actually make changes to these. And if I click only show items inside link maps, it's only gonna give me the relevant habitats. So I can put frames around everything and change the size of the frames. But I might call that a target node. I don't need those things. So I hit the minus. And it says UK Hab here. That's a title of the group in QGIS. I don't want that in my key. So what I can do is if I click on it in the legend items, I can call that hidden. We also have some titles here. There's baseline linear. It's the title of the layer. So I can call that hidden as well. But the actual features stay in. And then I can do the same for the baseline areas or polygons. We have red line boundary. Now, I don't want that called red line boundary. But what I'm going to do is change the name of it in my map. So I can rename layer, and I'm going to call that project area. Of course, we need a north arrow. It's a question of style where you put this. Just discreetly out of the way for me. And a scale. Similarly, some people will put it on the map, some off the map. And you can adjust that. So that's clearly too short for me. So I'm going to add some segments. Now, a lot of agencies will produce a complete map with the figure legend on the page. You can do that if you need to by adding a label, and you can type whatever you need in there. They'll often add their logo as well, so you can add a picture, and you need to go to raster image, and then you can navigate to any photo you have on your machine. However, we do not want a legend here in the University of Suffolk. I just don't want to get you out of the habit of having a scientific presentation, which means your legend needs to go under your map. Now, typically, we're going to export the map and write that figure legend underneath. But just for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to use a slightly different method, which is fine because it still fulfills the rules of having your figure legend underneath. And I'm going to add my figure legend as a label underneath the figure where it always goes. Now I need to locate my map. Now the best thing to do is to give an Ordnance Survey grid reference. Once you're happy with your layout, you can save the whole project. They will be stored here. You can click on it and bring it back.